Hey everybody, welcome back. It's the Rasball Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I am Don, joined by the Fantasy Master Lothario, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Gray Albright. How you doing over there, Gray?
Hey, what's going on, B Don? Only a month left until we are be done. What? What? Did I just do that? Yes, I did. I'm good, man. I'm all right. I feeling good, feeling happy. With the news. The news. You wanna tell our listeners slash viewers the news that it just broke. I think
Yeah,
overnight.
absolutely. And that is that minor leaguers have been sent a card to vote on designating somebody for the MLBPA as a collective bargaining representative. So they're actually going to finally get a say when the CBA gets discussed. They didn't do it before this CBA, which would have been nice, but they are finally going to get a voice at the table, Gray. I mean, how do we feel about this? Is there something that's going to happen to our game because of this? Are we going to get a little bit more minor league representation from, just in the game itself, kind of get rid of some of these ridiculous service time rules?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know because the major leaguers are gonna obviously they're gonna have the big say in what happens. They're gonna be the ones they're not gonna be like, hey, let's turn to the quad A guy and see what he thinks necessarily. But I mean, I do think this is a big W though for minor leaguers in general because like now they're at least at the table. Before they had nothing. They literally had no like say in anything. Like they were just like second class citizens and they were treated however the major league owners wanted to treat them, which, billionaires don't want to give other people money. That's a little life lesson for you on the Rasball podcast. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is just, I mean, it's going to be good. It's obviously, I think it's like, I mean, I want to say this is like huge news that a lot of people aren't going to, I don't think a lot of people really care about it in the mass the masses. I don't know if the masses care, to be honest, but I think this is sneaky, really profound and good news. I think this is really like major there's going to be major changes that I don't even know if we could necessarily quantify right now as as this news breaks. I'm not sure there's there's definite like in like next year like the minor leaguers are going to like the owners are going to fold like a single A and the minor leaguers are going to get minor leaguers are going to get called up quicker. I don't know yet. Like I don't think anyone does. I don't think we know exactly how this is going to play out, but I do think it's going to change things. I think it could potentially change things in a major way, especially for like service time and whether or not like minor leaguers like how not necessarily even when they're called up but how they're treated in the minors could have like profound differences in what we see in a lot of ways that I don't know if we know yet, but I think it's good. I think it's all honestly. I think it's definitely good. I don't know. I don't know necessarily yet how good it is, but it feels really good. Like it feels like a major victory for minor leaguers and also for the game because like if owners are no longer benefited by keeping guys down in the minors, it makes the major leagues better. It makes, and no longer do you have situations where like David Peralta is like 35 years old and just finally getting a contract. you know, like you'll have guys like when they're like 21 and 22, like maybe this like what we're seeing with the Braves will happen across multiple teams and not just the Braves. Maybe it'll happen, for all teams. It's really hard for me to say exactly what is going to change, but I do think it's going to change. I don't even think people are going to realize how much is going to change for fantasy specifically for the majors and for baseball, but also for fantasy, because you're going to have guys that are going to be called up sooner, and you're going to have you're just going to have, it's going to be different for young prospects. No longer, will you have like a situation where they have no say in whether or not they're abused. so
Yeah.
so it's good, like no matter what happens with fantasy or baseball, it's going to be good for minor leaguers. So that's good.
Yeah, I do wonder, how much of a say they have until we get to the next CBA, because there's minor things they adjust year to year, but for big changes like we're looking for, I don't know if that's going to happen before we get to the expiration of this current CBA. But they may also get, once they get a seat at the table, maybe they get a few seats at the table, and then maybe they actually have a bigger say. I mean, Chris Bryant can probably be the representative since he's not doing anything else anymore. He can
Right.
represent the minor leaguers. He has a bone to pick with the Major League Baseball and how the system worked for him, really.
If only Chris Bryant took those 2 weeks when his service time was suppressed and worked on strengthening the bottom of his foot, so he wouldn't get plantar fasciitis. It's too bad. It's too bad he didn't use that time more productively. Yeah, I mean, honestly, you bring up Chris Bryant, and we're gonna go into September call-ups. But is Chris Bryant even drafted in the top 200 next year? Like, honestly, like, do you draft him at all? Like, I know this is a sidetrack from where we're supposed to be going with this outline, but do you
No,
draft
I
Chris
mean,
Bryant?
I think he's still going to go top 200 just because of where he is and who he is. Like he's in Colorado still. Like
He was so
you're
bad,
just counting on
bro.
him to be healthy. Like
So
he's
bad.
been hurt all season, and somebody's going to take him. I mean, I'm probably going to take him if he goes to 200.
He is I mean, so bad, like incredibly bad that I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm drafting him in the top 200. Anyway, it's good news for minor leaguers. It's good. I think it's good. It's going to be good news for fantasy baseball in general. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. I think it's going to be good news for everything. It's going to be good news for the sport. It'll be good news.
Yeah, I think so. I think eventually we will get to a place where it is beneficial for the sport and definitely the minor leaguers. And maybe one of the things they can address in the meantime is how like relievers are used, where they're obviously the best pitcher in the bullpen and not getting saves purposely to deflate service time. Maybe where they can devalue the save or something in arbitration talks, something that'll matter, but maybe not as much as we can get down in the actual CBA negotiations. But yes, let's go ahead and move over to some call ups. We're not quite into September, but we're starting to get there. We're starting to see the players come up. Corbin Carroll is supposed to be up today as we're recording this on Monday. Called up by the Diamondbacks at Double A this year. 58 games, 16 home runs, 20 stolen bases, 62 runs, 39 RBIs. He hit 313, 430, 643. Triple A, 33 games, 7 home runs, 11 stolen bases. I mean, this in the Prospectinator for everybody that's listening that doesn't know what that is. That's a 150 game projection from Rudy. That's 2320, 251, 336, 455. I mean, he's the one or two prospect in the game right now. Pretty much spend all your fab that you have left, right, Gray?
Yeah, no, completely. Unfortunately, I don't have any fab left. Oh, spent
Same.
it. Ooh, spent it a little too early. Yeah, no, I think in the Prospectinator, he is right now, currently, he is the number one prospect according to Rudy's projections. I believe on Itch's stash list, he was number one for the number one guy to stash. He's the number one. I believe he's the number one guy on his top 100. Like CC the Bathia, huh? Yeah, I did that too. What? Ooh. Yeah, I think he's like the guy. No matter who gets called up from from the time that we record this, to the end of the year, I think Corbin Carroll is the guy. Like he's going to be the top call up. There's no one coming up that's going to be better than him. Some guys, now as we said previously, and I've said many times before that, there's going to be guys who could get called up who could potentially be better than Corbin Carroll for a month because, you never know. Like it's going to be a sample size of a month for, Corbin Carroll, or if Josh Jung gets called up, like Josh Jung could be better than Corbin Carroll, even though in reality, Corbin Carroll should be better long term. Like Corbin Carroll is like, he's the real deal. Like that's it. It's going to be like Corbin Carroll is probably going to be my top rookie, I would say, going into next year. Like he's going to be the guy. Like when I do my rookie outlook posts during the month of October, November, I believe he's gonna be the number one guy. I don't hold me to it, but he's probably gonna be like the number one pick to win the Rookie of the Year in the NL next year. Like like people were picking Bobby Witt Jr. or Julio Rodriguez this year. I think Corbin Carroll is going to be that guy next year. Like he's going to be, and now that we've seen him get called up to start the month of September, he's definitely starting the year. Like his ADP for next year has gone up probably, at least 3 or 4 rounds in a 15-team mixed league. Like in a draft champions, Corbin Carroll is now, I would say, probably a top 75 overall pick, like a Bobby Witt last year, or a Julio Rodriguez at the end of, in the last couple days when the Mariners, surprised everyone and said Julio Rodriguez is going to start the year with them. So Corbin Carroll is that guy. Like he is going to be probably 50 to 75 overall next year. He's going to be a 20 plus homer, 20 plus steal, good contact, like everything you could want. Like Corbin Carroll is that. Like he's actually, I would say he's probably better than Bobby Witt Jr. All things, if all things are even, like I'd say Corbin Carroll over Bobby Witt Jr. Not next year because Bobby Witt Jr.'s had a whole year under his belt. So Bobby Witt Jr. will still be ranked above Corbin Carroll. But in long-term wise, I think Corbin Carroll is that guy. Like he could be better than Bobby Witt Jr. Is he going to be better than Julio Rodriguez? Well, I don't know about that. I'm not willing to go there yet. I think Julio Rodriguez is another level. I think Julio Rodriguez, then Bobby Witt Jr., then Corbin Carroll. If we're just talking about 3 guys in the major leagues. I don't know why we're talking about only 3 guys. I guess I'm the one who's talking about only 3 guys. But Corbin Carroll is, he is the guy. Like if he's available in any league, I picked him up in our RCL league, a league that I've been out of it since like April. But anyway, I am still competing. But anyway, not to go back down that rabbit hole, but Corbin Carroll is the guy. Like absolutely spend all your fab, pick him up in every league. Like he should be rostered everywhere. Yeah. So anyway, your thoughts?
No, I'm pretty much in the same exact view as you are. He's the number one prospect. He's the number one guy that's going to come up the rest of the season. So if you have fab left, unlike Gray and myself, use it. And yeah, you and I are battling for the very prestigious 6th seed in the Perks League. So we got to battle it out to the end.
And there's only 7 teams playing. I believe at least 5 teams have abandoned the league. So yeah, we're doing good. Welcome to the podcast where we come in 6th or 7th out of 6 or 7 teams.
Yeah, so Corbin Carroll is the guy next year as well. I agree on that front. He's going to go inside the top 100 in pretty much every draft. So if you got him before that in some drafts you're doing before, the season wrapped up here, congratulations. But that has now come to a close. and I'm sure he's the odds-on favorite to win Rookie of the Year for next year.
You think you agree that he's probably going to go around where Bobby Witt went this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I think him and Bobby Witt, I think they're very similar in what they can bring. I think Witt has a little bit more power. Carroll has a little bit more speed. So I think that's pretty much the only difference between the two. Carroll does walk a little bit more, so his eye might be a little bit more refined than Bobby Witt. So he might adjust a little bit faster than Witt did because it took Bobby Witt a little bit to kind of just hit his stride like he has now. But that's pretty much the only difference.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. I think also Arizona is a slightly better park. I'm not sure with the humidor. Honestly, I'm guessing it was a better park. Obviously, for a long time, for many years, it was a much better park. But with the humidor, it might be slightly less good, but still, I still think it's better than Kaufman. So anyway, I don't have it open in front of me, but I'm
No,
guessing.
I believe that's right. I believe Arizona is slightly lower than mid, and Kaufman is still near the bottom because Kaufman's always near the bottom. It's just a terrible park for hitters.
Right.
And as bad as it is, I think the Arizona lineup is actually stronger than the Kansas City lineup if we're just looking at the runs and RBIs category for the two.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that because you have like Kansas City's got those two catchers that are really good. They got Vinny Pascatino. Hey, from Staten Island. Hey, what's going on, Vinny? They also have I don't know. I mean, the Royals have gotten better. And the Diamondbacks are pretty bad, but
They are pretty bad.
but maybe you might be right. I don't know. Honestly, I don't have it open in front of me either. But I would say probably the Royals are slightly better offense, but not enough of a quibble to argue it over.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens in the offseason as well to adjust
True.
that.
Yeah, that's
So, yeah, we'll just block that out for next
Who
season.
knows? Maybe the Rangers' great aunt will pass away this offseason and surprise everyone and leave $500 million to the Arizona Diamondbacks, and they'll be like, "Wow, we just inherited all the Rangers' money. Now we can spend money on stupidness."
Oh man! All right, so hopefully, Carroll should. I mean, in all theory, Carroll should slot in at the top of the lineup. There's while I said Arizona, I think has the better overall lineup. I don't think there's anybody that needs to bat over him. Like 1 through 9, there's not a player that needs to bat over Carroll at this point. Let's move on to our next guy, which is Garrett Mitchell. I believe he got called up pretty much as we were finishing the last podcast, maybe, but he's called up by the Brewers. In Double-A this year, he has 44 games, 4 home runs, 7 stolen bases. He had 277, 353, 428. In Triple-A, in 20 games, he had a home run, 9 stolen bases, 342, 435, 466. Small sample in his AAA, but the K rate did decline about 6% going from AA to AAA, which is always great to see. The Prospectinator has him for 327, 13, 13 over 150 games. I don't know if that average is right. I'll have to check that. I might have just fat thumbed that one. But
Prospectinator has him for a 237 average.
Okay, 237. So I have those two front numbers backwards. But 13 over 150 games. What do you think about Garrett Mitchell here? And obviously below Carroll, but how much below him?
I don't think, you know what? I would say the Prospectinator saying 13-13. That's batshit crazy. there's no way he's a 13-13 guy. Like, if anything, he's a 320 guy, 3 homers, 20 steals. Like, he's not a 13-13 guy. I don't know. Anyway, for the most part, I do agree with Rudy's projections. So, but I will say, in that instance, that feels a little weird. Anyway, so his speed is great. I mean, he does seem to have good power, just untapped, which, I don't know when that'll get tapped. I would say hopefully soon, and especially as with the Brewers, They be tapping, you know what I'm saying? Beer, you know? No, okay. Yeah, I think Mitchell is probably Garrett Miller would be really appropriate in Milwaukee. Garrett Mitchell is probably a platoon guy. I don't know. I mean, in NL only, I'm in NL only though. In a 15-team mixed league for steals, sure, I could see that as well. Like probably 15-team mixed league though. I'd probably want daily because a weekly league with a platoon guy is, I mean, it's not so great for people in NL only leagues. To give you an idea, in my NL only league, for out of $1,000, Steve Gardner of USA Today got him for $26, which I think is actually a pretty good price for a 12-team NL only. That's not bad. That's so in a $100 thing, that's roughly $3. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I honestly, I believe I bid on him in my NL only keeper. I want to say I did. Yeah, I like him for NL only because steals are steals. Sagnoff, and if he's gonna play at all, he could potentially get 10 steals in the month of September. So that's good for a daily league. Fine, if you need steals, I could see picking him up in any league if you need steals and you're able to platoon him in and out of the lineup. In a weekly league, I don't know, man. I didn't bid on him in any weekly, like a main event or TGFBI or any weekly 15-team league. I didn't bid on him. I don't think he's really going to be like, because of the weekly thing. It's really hard to play a guy like that. For what it's worth, he did go. Let's see. He went for no. No one even bid on him. So people were in the same boat as me. No one bid on him in my 15-team mixed leagues weekly. So yeah, I don't know. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he's slotting in right now at the bottom of the lineup for the Brewers, so that makes it hard to really, in any league, to roster him. Just the fact that he's not going to come up to plate that often, the fact he's not going to have the run and RBI opportunities hitting at the bottom of the order, and the fact that you're right, he's probably is going to platoon. He's on the strong side of the platoon. He is a lefty bat, so at least he has that going for him. But it's a guy that's going to be, a primarily speed only guy. So it's going to be needs based on how much you need that speed and what kind of options are available in your league for speed.
So for speed, I didn't need speed in one 15-team mixed league weekly, and I didn't bid on Mitchell as previously said, but I did bid on Jose Siri. So that gives you an idea of where, I guess, Jose Siri, I put in $1 bid on him. I mean, it wasn't $1 out of 1,000. So it's not like I bid huge on him, but that's kind of where my head is at. Like Jose Siri over Garrett Mitchell, and in most people's leagues, Jose Siri is available too. So it's like, meh.
Yeah. So it's kind of a streaming situation when he's in there, and you can just kind of play the matchups with him. Not necessarily a need to roster unless you are in an NL only, or like you said, a deep 15-teamer or a 15-teamer where you need steals. Then obviously take the chance on him. Moving on to the next guy, and that is Drew Water. He has been with the Braves and the Royals this year. With the Braves, he had 49 games. He had 5 home runs, 5 stolen bases. He hit 246, 305, 393. Since moving to the Royals in 31 games, he's already has 2 more home runs, 8 more stolen bases. He's hitting 295, 399, 541. Prospecting Air currently has him for 13, 16, 239, 302, 384. And he said that the Royals switch has made a difference for him, that the coaches helped him kind of get back on track here. Are you buying the revamped Drew Waters?
Not really. Yeah, I mean, You know what? I mean, sure. If he says the Royals have helped him and, he actually looks better, then yeah, I mean, I buy it to a certain extent. I just don't know if he's really like we said earlier, Kaufman's not great. The Royals are kind of iffy. He's going to be at the bottom of the Royals lineup, if anywhere. He probably does play every day, or at least like 5 of 6 games. Maybe Isbell or someone or Rooker gets the occasional at bat. But yeah, I mean he plays enough. So AL only, I like him a lot. 15 team mixed league, nah, I don't know. I'm not really. I mean, I'd like to see something from him before actually going in. Like he feels like a guy who could become like a hot potato, and someone who I would absolutely pick up if he got hot. But as it is right now, nah, I mean, not really, to be honest. I have I have guys like once again, like I said, Jose Siri was more interesting to me than Drew Waters. I was definitely on the outside of the narrative with the Drew Waters, his suddenly better, where some people are buying into it more than I am. And like in my leagues, I didn't bid on Drew Waters, but Drew Waters did go for $20 out of 1,000. So and that was like the third, like the second highest bid this week. So some people are in on Drew Waters. There's people who are buying in. I didn't really buy in. I don't know. I mean, like I said, if he gets hot, then sure. But just to do a flyer on a guy, like, nah, probably not.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like Waters more than general consensus, but at the same time, he's hitting at the bottom of the Royals lineup. Again, not the greatest of places to be. He is a switch hitter, so there's no reason he can't just play the rest of the way out and let the see if the Royals have something here, and if he is kind of fixed, or if this was just a small sample size blip, and we're just going to resume kind of the regularly scheduled Drew Waters. I don't know. I mean, it is a guy that was a top prospect. We think, at least I think, there's some possibility here, but I do think it's 15 team and deeper that we're looking here because, again, he's sitting at the bottom of the lineup. So even if he does do well until he gets moved up, there's really not a whole lot to be added other than, maybe he goes like 3-3 the rest of the way, which is, fine. But I like he's more of a compiler, I think, that can go power speed rather than somebody who's going to put up big power speed numbers in a short amount of time.
Right. Agreed.
All right, moving over to the pitching side, Cade Cavalli got the call up in AAA this year, 20 starts. He went 6-4, 3.71 ERA, 1.18 WHIP, 26% K rate, 9.7% walk rate's a little bit high. The Prospectinator has him down for 150 innings over 30 starts, a 4.38 ERA, 1.39 WHIP, an 8.2 K per nine, and a 4 walk per nine. So pretty much in line with kind of what you would expect from somebody making that transition from AAA up, given what Cade has as his numbers so far. Are you higher or lower than on Cade as we're looking at him than the Prospectinator here?
No, I'm probably as low as the Prospectinator. I don't, like rookie pitchers are so iffy to begin with. Especially right now, with like in the beginning of the year, it's one thing to like take a flyer on a rookie pitcher because you have like the whole year to see what happens, and maybe you like, I don't know, luck into like a Spencer Strider or something. But like right now, you're gonna get Cade Cavalli or like a street or like Jake Odorizzi in a good matchup. Like I'm taking Jake Odorizzi in a good matchup than the random, than the rookie pitcher for the Nationals. Like, he's gonna be hard up for wins. He's gonna not they're probably not gonna pitch him even that much. Like he went, where'd he go? 4 1/3 in his first start.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he might have good Ks in a small sample size kind of way, like, in four plus innings to 5+ innings, maybe he gets 7 Ks in a start, and I'm not in, like, right, not for this season. We'll see how he looks for next year. I don't even know if I'm going to be in next year, to be honest, because like you said, his command is so bad. I I tend to shy away from guys with really bad command, especially young pitchers. Like, young pitchers are like, bad command, you're just basically asking for a roofie. It's gonna get ugly. Like, if you want a guy who had bad command who got ugly, like, look at Hunter Green. Like, he had moments where he was like unhittable for starts, but other times it was like you didn't want him anywhere near your team. So yeah, I don't even think I'm going to be in on him next year. I'm definitely not in on Cade Cavalli this year.
Yeah, I tend to be in agreement with you. I think the one place you can use them is if I have a couple leagues like this where you're so far down in ERA whip that like you're not going to lose or gain anything there. So you're just chasing strikeouts and wins. And in that situation, sure, you could throw out a guy like Cade Cavalli because if he's on, the stuff is nasty. So he can rack up strikeouts in a hurry. But the chances are that if you're chasing ERA and whip at all, or you could potentially lose some points there, the potential for blow up, as you mentioned, with just the command is certainly there. Whether that's him walking a bunch of guys or him just leaving stuff over the middle of the plate to big league hitters, either way, it could get ugly. So it's a use, but a use at your own peril, and depending on what you're chasing at this point. I'm willing I'm not willing to write him off yet. I'm probably going to be at least somewhat interested next year as we look to see how he falls in the rotation. It's good to see that they're getting give him some time up this year. But yeah, he does have to get that command under control before you can really count on him start to start.
And for whatever it's worth, he was in my NL only league. I bid on him in my keeper for $1 out of 100, and I got him. For whatever that's worth. My keeper is NL only 10 team, and in my 12 team NL only league, Tout Wars, Tristan Cockcroft had already rostered him, so he wasn't available. So I don't know, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, and I guess in my TGFBI he went for $7 out of 1,000. I know pretty much everybody left in that is running out of fab budget, so the bids are not quite as high as they would have been early in the season. But again, just to give you some point of reference for what he went for in that one.
Yeah, I'm actually. I don't think he even went in mine. Oh, he did. I'm sorry. Yeah, he went for $10. The second highest bid was 7. So yeah, about the same as what you said in your league.
Yeah, so equivalent to about $1 in a normal $100 fab type of league. So that's the right area. I mean, he's a dollar or two flyer, and you see what you get out of him rest of season. Just depends on how badly you need some strikeouts. Let's move over from some of the prospect call ups to some of the second half producers. And let's talk about how they're going to fall in for next season as we're looking at them. Andres Jimenez, he's number 4 on the play rater for the season, number 9 on the play rater over the last 30 days. The 23-year-old is on pace for 2020 302. His first half was 296, 10 home runs, 7 stolen bases, 33 runs, 43 RBIs. His second half was 314, 5 home runs, 8 stolen bases, 16-17. He's been hitting 5 through 7 in the lineup all season. Greg, please tell me Andres Jimenez is more Jose Ramirez and Francisco Lindor than Oscar Mercado.
Yeah, Oscar Mercado. I don't think he even in the major leagues anymore. Oscar Mercado is opened up a Mercado. Oscar's Mercado he's now Oscar's Mercado.
Mercado's Mercado.
Yeah, it's Mercado's Mercado. It's down on Main, and it's on the corner of Main and Main. Yeah, I think Jimenez is like, I mean, he was always a guy I liked. I liked him back when he was on the Mets. I felt like, I mean, obviously you take Lindor if you're the Mets, but I always liked Jimenez. I felt like, the Mets gave up on him a little bit early. For fantasy, he's really valuable because as you see, like, it's kind of interesting if you're looking at like the 30-day player rater, the top 10, like you mentioned, Jimenez was 10 overall on the 30-day player rater. Like the top 10 are all guys that are like, they're either like really big bats who are hitting really well, like an Aaron Judge, for instance, or a Goldschmidt, or they're guys who have some speed. Like you'll find like Michael Harris the second's on there, Manny Machado, who's actually a big bat as well. But he has been stealing. Excuse me, he hasn't been stealing. Mookie Betts has been stealing. I was looking at the wrong line. But anyway, yeah, I mean, you see like how important like speed is to, all this to fantasy now. And it's like if you're giving like Andres Jimenez in 30 games has given 8 steals, that's huge. That's like let me see if I sort by it. Yeah, I was gonna say it's the best, but it's actually the second best for the last 30 games. Jake McCarthy has been number 1 for the last 30 days, for steals, that is. So yeah, and it's like 8 steals in today's game in 30 days is like huge. That's like, I mean, I don't think he's capable of it, so I don't want to give people the wrong idea, but I mean, we're talking a 45 plus steal guy over the course of a season. So, I mean, even if he gets 25 steals, because he's not bad for everything else. Like Andres Jimenez is sneaky good when it comes to average. Like he's a good contact guy. He's got a 20% K rate. He's got some power. Like he might sneak into like 17, 18 homers this year. Maybe even gets up to 20 if he has a hot month of September for power. I mean, 20, if he's a 2020 guy with a good average, I mean, he's gonna be a top 50 to top 60 overall, maybe top 70. I think he could be even underrated next year. Like, I don't even know if people truly appreciate how good he is overall. Like he is, I mean, he's really good. He's like surprisingly good. And I don't think like right now on the player rater, he's around 50 overall. That's for the season. He's essentially been as good as Juan Soto. Obviously, Juan Soto's not having a great year. Brutal year for my NL only team. But yeah, Andres Jimenez has been great, and I don't think it's necessarily a fluke at all. I think this is who he is. I think he's probably, maybe a little bit lower on power, so 15, but a little bit higher on speed potentially next year. And he's only 23, 15, 25, 280. That's really, I mean, that's basically Tommy Edman, who, I know has trailed off a little bit in the second half, but Tommy Edman's been, a top 25 guy. He was a top 25 guy for a big chunk of the season. He's, recently fell down to, top 50 because he's been moved down to the bottom of the Cardinals lineup, and he sucks. Yeah, and there's that little, problem. Yeah, so I don't know, but I like Andres Jimenez a lot.
Yeah, I do too. And I see it going one of two ways. Either like he gets a bunch of helium and he's going to go way too high, or it's going to be kind of like, and I don't, they're different players in the way that they approach they're at bat, but like kind of like an Adolis Garcia where you're like, why aren't more people in on this guy? And he does go at that value because, I mean, across the board, his numbers have improved this year. His exit velocity is up, his barrel rate is up, his hard hit rate's up. It's like everything is trending in the right direction for Andres Jimenez.
Honestly, I think it's going to be the latter. I think it's going to be an Adolis Garcia situation where, if anything, I think Andres Jimenez, I want to say Tommy Edwin was ADP around like 80 to 100. I want to say Andres Jimenez is going to be in that range too, with good upside to be like a top 40 overall guy. So I'm going to be in. I think Jimenez could be a really good bargain actually next year.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see people just, oversimplify it and go, oh, 354 BABIP on a 302 average. He's not going to do that, which means everything else comes down. Where I don't think anything he's doing is a fluke because everything's improved. Like he just continues to improve year to year. The K rates come down. I mean, everything you want out of a 23-year-old, he's done this year.
Yeah, agreed.
Moving on to another former top prospect, or I guess Jimenez wasn't even really a top prospect. I mean, I guess he was. But another top prospect, Nate Lowe, his second half and really across the entire season has been strong. Second half, though, he's hit 366 with 9 home runs versus 270 and 12 home runs in the first half. He is the number 8 first baseman on the player rater for the season, the number 2 first baseman over the last 30 days and the number 6 overall player over that time. So he's one of those few non-stolen base guys that's actually up in that top tier for the last 30 days on the player rater. He's doing great this year. If you have him, enjoy it. Where are we putting him in though next year among the first basemen? I mean, is he earned a right to kind of fall below the like Matt Olson tier, who was gross for a lot of the year and just kind of has made it up here in spurts?
Spurts. Are we talking about Simeon? Yeah, no, I think Nathaniel Lowe is Nathaniel now. Okay, beat on, please. I don't call you B. Don't call him Nate.
You can call me B. That's perfectly fine with me,
All
actually.
right, B. Yeah, no, I think Nathaniel Lowe is he's gonna be hard for me because like I think the lack of speed it trips me up a little bit, because it's like, I mean, you have to have either a clear track record like a Matt Olson who you mentioned, or like a Jose Abreu, or like a guy who is obviously gonna get like his 30 homers and 275 plus average and good runs and RBIs, like the Anthony Rizzo's and Pete Alonso's above all those guys, but you know what I mean, like the guys who are like so locked in that you feel like you can count on them for like good power numbers, and you don't have to worry about getting 5+ steals from them. I don't like Lowe. I don't know if he's really in that range for me, and I think I might be out on Lowe for next year. Obviously, if you have him this year, you should be really, grateful because he's had a great year. He's top 50 overall on the player rater. He's been fantastic. I don't think I'm necessarily going to be in on him, though. I really don't like that profile from a guy who doesn't have a track record like others. Like, you can go like Nate Lowe, who's been better than Rhys Hoskins, but Rhys Hoskins has a track record of like power and RBIs, and like I can count on Rhys Hoskins and know I'm going to be hurting on average, where Nate Lowe is giving so much fantasy value from his average this year. He's hitting 300. I mean, I don't know if I can count on that. He feels like a 270 hitter. So it's like 270 hitter with good BABIP. I don't know, man. I like Nate Lowe for this year, obviously. I feel like I might be out on next year, though.
Yeah, no, I think I'm with you in regards to kind of what you're getting from him. It's not a 30 plus home run bat. He's going to be a middle of the order bat who's not going to give you an average that's going to kill you. But that's kind of what he is. The average is really holding him up this second half, especially. I think he probably goes, but I mean, I think I don't think anybody's reaching for Nate Lowe either. So I could still be in on him just based on where he ends up going. I think he probably goes somewhere in the, I don't know, 8 to 12 range, like him versus, like you said, Jose Abreu or Josh Bell, who's kind of the same guy with a worse park now. Rizzo, who's power only. Hoskins, who's kind of power only, the same. So, did you take a Pete Alonso early in your draft or an Aaron Judge? or did you take, I don't know, a Trey Turner where you maybe need to catch up on some power? That may be the determining factor of kind of that tier
Yeah.
of first base.
Right, or if you need a corner man early or something. Yeah, I mean it probably could become league dependent and team dependent, but I do think like if I'm looking at like Rizzo, Hoskins, or Lowe, I'm taking Bell out because Bell's going to be his
He's
own
just
issues.
falling
Yeah,
out right
yeah,
now.
he's falling off so bad in the second half that he's gonna have his own. He'll need his own discussion in my head at least. But if I'm going Lowe, Rizzo, or Hoskins, I just feel so much safer with Rizzo and Hoskins. I feel like Lowe, if he does like 24 homers and 270, so it's so like okay, whatever, I don't know. It will be a hard profile to get behind completely, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on Hoskins. I don't know. Rizzo, the bats just continue to slow down. So I may be out on Rizzo next year. We'll see. I thought this year he was just going at too much of a value, but the pinstripes and the number of home runs may move him up
Mm,
next year. So it just depends on where they end up going. I think I would take Lowe over Rizzo, though, just kind of head to head. How about Andrew Vaughn? I'm going to throw that one because he looks like he's going to qualify at first base, and
oh,
we
I
know what
think
his
Vaughn.
upside is.
Right, I think Vaughn. I'm interested in Vaughn. I think Vaughn could be 2023's low. Like Vaughn could have top 50 upside. I like Vaughn a lot. I would like to see more power from him, and but I think that's there. I think he can tap into more power. So yeah, I think I'm more interested in Low. I mean, excuse me, Vaughn than I am Low.
Yeah, I think I'm with you just because, I mean, he's going to give you the dual eligibility. And I think at worst, he's kind of already Nate Lowe. Like he's going to give you what we expect, which is like a 270, 280 average,
Right.
like 20, 25 home runs and sitting in the top 4 or 5 spots of the lineup. And that's pretty much what you're getting from Vaughn plus the upside.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. So and maybe if Lowe gets change of scenery somehow, but Texas has also just lost the home run power in that park too, so that sucks.
Right.
Let's talk about somebody on the opposite side who's just giving you speed, and that's Jake McCarthy. The second half, he is at 337, 402, 433. He has 1 home run, 10 stolen bases. He's hitting 5 or 6 most days for the Diamondbacks. Jake McCarthy, is he somebody that we are needing to pay attention to for next year, or is this kind of I don't know, that mile straw of this year?
He's like the second half John Birdie. He's the on Erdy. Call him on Erdy. I think you know what? I don't even know if his playing time's gonna suffer now at Corbin Carroll. To be honest, I mean I guess Alec Thompson goes to the bench, and I mean McCarthy's probably guaranteed playing time, but I don't know. I mean Alec Thomas, if he's gonna play, and Stone Garrett, if they're gonna play, they got to play somewhere, and I'm assuming Corbin Carroll's not gonna be platooned, so. McCarthy might be, I mean, he might be on the outside looking in of everyday playing time, or he might have, a strong side of a platoon, but still a platoon. Yeah, I don't know. I think Jake McCarthy is kind of like, I mean, he feels kind of like you said, Miles Straw, or I said John Birdie, or like, he's just like one of those guys who just happened to steal 8 bags in the last 30 days, which is great because it's like I mean steals are so rare now that like a guy who steals 8 bags in 30 days, it's like pops up on your radar. But I don't know if he's real. Like, I mean, he does have good speed, don't get me wrong. It's not like speed isn't fluky. I mean, it's not fluky in that he's fast, but it can be fluky in that like he stole so many bags in such a short amount of time. Like, like I said with John Birdie, it's like John Birdie's fast, but it was fluky that he stole like 20 bases in like 3 weeks or whatever crazy thing he did. Like opportunities come in clusters. So, I mean, Jake McCarthy was great for the last month. I don't know if he's going to be good again for the final month. So, I don't know.
Yeah, and part of the issue is they platooned him all season, and then like he's kind of gotten the run here in August, and he has done well with it. But if he's just going to be a platoon bat, then that's definitely going to limit the upside that you could potentially get from him. I think he could be just fine as a platoon bat, but there's only certain leagues where that's going to matter. The speed's great. So I mean, if you're chasing, I mean, again, 8 stolen bases in 23 games here in August, that's phenomenal to see. But I do think he's just kind of fallen into some luck here. Nothing really across the board looks different in his, his profile from like April, May to now in regards to when he was hitting like 260 versus what he's doing right now. It does look better than what he did last year, so maybe there's a little bit of improvement happening year over year at least. But I just don't think he's a 290, 300 hitter with speed. I think he's probably closer to that 250, 260 guy that we saw at the start of the year.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. One pitcher here, Zach Gallen. I mean, we had to talk about him. He's been the number 2 starting pitcher over the last 30 days, the number 2 pitcher in the second half. He's ditched the slider in favor of more curves and cutters. His second half ERA is 0.80. He has a 0.73 whip, a 30% K rate, a 6% walk rate. Are we looking at the transition to Zach Gallen becoming an elite starting pitcher for us next year?
Looking at the starters on the player radar, I'm struck by how many guys I liked a lot and how good my pitching is across so many. And I didn't like Zach Gallen, so it shows you like how many pitchers there are. It's like there is so many pitchers. There's it's like flooded with guys who you could have gotten. Like I don't know how. Like, honestly, I say this like once a day. It just depends on whether or not I'm in front of a microphone. But I don't know how you can justify taking a starter high when you look at the starters on the player radar at the end of the year and you're like, none of these guys were drafted high. They're not. Like, all of them were available. Like, Corbin Burns was drafted high. He's the 8th pitcher out of the starters. I believe... I want to say Aaron Nola was available to people. I feel like I was saying draft Aaron Nola. But I mean, let's just say he was high, drafted high. Ohtani was drafted high because of his bat, and Garrett Cole and Scherzer. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 out of 20 starters. I'm talking about the top 20 starters. Julio Urias too. So 6. I mean, 6 guys out of the top 20. That means there's 14 pitchers in the top 20. I mean, I'm stretching with a little, like Sandy Alcantara is in there. Sandy Alcantara was drafted in the I want to say he was like drafted like 15th overall out of starters. So he was available for people. I'm only taking away like literally the top 2.5 rounds, like after the top 2.5 rounds in a 15-team league too. So in a 12-team league, I mean, some of these guys were really available. And in a 10-team league, you could have had, honestly, in a 10-team league, you could have had anyone. You could have such a good staff and not draft a starter. There's just so many guys that are available. Like Shane McClanahan, I wrote a sleeper post on. Tony Gosling, I was telling everyone to draft like around like 250 overall. Dylan Cease, I wrote a sleeper post on. Carlos Rodon was available for everyone because people were worried about his injury. Alek Manoah was drafted by me, by anyone who wanted Alek Manoah, he was available. Kyle Ray was available. Max Fried was available. I mean, there's so many guys that are available. I just went up to like the top 12. I mean, there's so many guys. It's so crazy. Zach Gallen, anyway, back to Zach Gallen. He has been good. I mean, he has been great. but there's been so many guys that have been great. Like, you really didn't need Galen, but if you had him, I mean, this is like this is our podcast for just Arizona. Hey, what's up, Arizona? We're doing Corbin Carroll, Jake McCarthy, and Zach Galen. Later, we'll talk about Stone Garrett. What's going on? Hey, I love you, ASU. Yeah, I mean, Zach Galen's numbers look good. I mean, not great. He's got like just a barely under 9 K per 9 and a 2.5 walk rate. His xFIP is 3.51. It's okay. I mean, I honestly, I don't know if I'm necessarily going to be in on him next year. His numbers don't really jump off the page as him being able to be better. I mean, he seems okay. He seems kind of like, maybe where Max Fried was going this year as like the 22nd ish. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me, but say the 22nd ish starter off the board, I believe is where I ranked him in the preseason. I'm guessing here. I believe he was around there. Zach Galen might be around that range for me again for next year, like top 25 starter. I could see that. Top 15 or top 10? No way. I mean, these numbers are not jumping off the page to make him in any way a top 15 starter for me, but maybe top 25.
Okay, let me throw a few names at you. Gallon or Joe Musgrove?
I think I got to go Musgrove still, even though he falls off in the second half. I think, because Musgrove is so good in the first half, I think he kind of makes up for it.
All right, I think I'm going to go with Gallon, but I just like the Musgrove thing has always kind of bothered me.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, they're close. They probably are pretty close, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, Joe Musgrove to me is like, I mean, he's so good in the first half, and in a shallower league, I guess it depends on the league, because in a shallower league, you can move on when a guy like Musgrove starts going south, or you could trade him before if you have, like guys in your league who are suckers. If you got some suckers in your league, but I mean, if we're looking at just like xFIP or FIP, just Joe Musgrove's, they're really close actually. Like I'm looking at Musgrove's numbers now, and yeah, I mean they're really similar. He's got better command. I don't know, maybe, now that I'm sort of looking at his numbers, maybe Gallon a little bit over him, but real close. Like I think Musgrove is probably going to be in the 25 to 28 starter range next year for me. And Gallon probably in that same area. So yeah, I don't know. Close though.
Okay. Fair enough. We can move on until we get kind of ranks for next season. It sounds like I'm a little bit higher, maybe on Gallon, and kind of buying into some of these pitch mix changes a little bit more than you are.
Yeah, I mean, I think Gallon's like his upside is Julio Urias, who I don't really like, but it does do well. I just, I don't usually trust like the under 9 K per 9. It gets iffy for me when it's under 9. It doesn't feel like a number, like a strong enough number 2, which is a number 2 is around like the 25th starter off the board is essentially like a number 2. A high number 3 if you've kind of punted hitting. But yeah, I mean I like Gallon. I just don't love him. I don't love the numbers as much. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I am buying into, like I said, a little bit of the bump in K rate, 30% K rate over the second half. I mean, that's more than enough to be serviceable as like I say. I think top 15 to 18 probably is where I'm gonna end on Gallon, somewhere in that range. And I mean, when we're talking about Urias, I mean, he is the number 1 starting pitcher in the second half. So
Urias has been
he's been great.
Yeah, no, Urias has been great. I don't trust him. I'm still going to be out on Urias. I'll be out.
Yeah,
I'm telling you right now, I'm going to be out on him next year. People are
yeah.
going to draft him way before I will. That's fine though. Like I said, 10 minutes ago, there's so many starters. I can be out on guys who are good. Like I can be out on Justin Verlander, who's the number one starter on the year, because like Shane McClanahan, I wrote a sleeper on, and I was in on McClanahan everywhere. Like I'm in, like I have such good pitching, like in most of my leagues, in like 95% of my leagues, I have great pitching, and I don't draft pitchers high. Like in my labor league, my it's a 12-team mixed league. I have Dylan Cease, Jordan Montgomery, Miles Mikolas, Dustin May, Chris Bassett, Robbie Ray, Patrick Sandoval, Clay Holmes, Ryan Helsley, and Daniel Bard. None of those guys were drafted high by me. I did not draft any of them. Like that's Robbie Ray was my ace, and Robbie Ray I think is at like a 3.6 ERA. And that in that league, I'm easily the best pitching. Like it's not even close, really. Like my pitching is at, let's see, I have a 12 out of 12 teams, and my pitching, my ERA is 3.16. The next nearest is 3.4. So it's like not even close. Like I am so far and away the best pitching team. And you heard the team. I mean, they're fine. I mean, they've all been good. Dylan Cease has been amazing. But I mean, Miles Mikolas and Jordan Montgomery have had issues here and there. They've also been good at other times. I mean, you don't need ace, quote unquote, like crazy, like Corbin Burns, Garrett Cole. You don't need that.
No, you don't. I mean, they're nice to have. Don't get me wrong, but at their cost, you don't need them because of all the pitchers that we've talked about and that have broken out
Mm-hmm.
and become top 25 guys for next year, like Zach Gallen, who has just steadily improved. And like I said, I think the pitch mix change is kind of the difference between him and Reyes. But like you said, I'm also not necessarily an Reyes fan because I chase Ks and he's not a high K guy. So if the innings and workload is what you like out of your top pitcher, that's fine. I just don't spend my money or draft pick there. Let's get to one more player from the second half before we get into bullpen and waivers real quick, Gray, and that is Jorge Mateo. In the second half, he has hit 287, 322, 513. He has 5 home runs, 6 stolen bases. The K rate is down 8%. He's hitting the ball with more authority, specifically his off-speed pitches that he's seen. So his average exit velocity versus off-speed in April was 63.5. May, 78. June, 80. July, 84. August, 86. If you can't tell by the numbers from 63 to 86, that's a hell of a lot better against off-speed pitches all of a sudden, Gray. Is this a real change for Jorge Mateo, or is this another kind of fake Miles Straw situation?
Uh, yeah, I mean, Mateo is actually really interesting because the speed is real, and I mean, really good. Like he got caught stealing a bunch this year, but the Orioles don't care.
Yeah, they're just going to run him out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll run him. I wish he were a little bit younger. Like he probably, I mean, he might have been hurt a little bit by the pandemic year. 2020 kind of messed him up a little bit, I guess. It would be nice if he had, another, like if he were like 25 instead of 27. But he's still young enough where I think he's really going to be good. I really like him a lot. I think he's got like sneaky power, good speed. His average is not it's not going to be great, but he also, I don't think, because of his speed, I don't think he's going to totally kill you. Like I think he has upside. Like he's hitting 230 right now. I think he's probably got 250 upside. Yeah, I'm a fan. I think there could be really good. I think next year could be really interesting. I think everything is pointing in the right direction. I think he could actually be undervalued too, potentially. I don't see him going before like 120 at the most overall. Maybe even like 150. People really discount average a lot. Like, someone sees like a 230 average and they'll discount it to the point where he's like going at like 150, 160 overall. And it's like, it's a bargain for real. So yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, we're in just an example of how much average can kind of sway, and the value of average, I guess, which is very much circumstantial and just depends on the player. But like Cody Bellinger, who has been awful in average all year. I mean, he's hitting 207. He's been terrible in that category. He's still a top 90 bat. And
Right.
so even if the average falls out, as long as they're hitting for power and stealing, like the bat itself can, or the player itself can still be worth it. And so I think the speed's legitimate. That the Orioles are going to give him the green light, apparently, even though he has been caught, as you mentioned, 8 times out of 36 attempts.
With speaking of Bellinger, something I'm looking at right now on the player rater, he's just above Ty France, and I don't think a lot of people would know that Ty France is below Cody Bellinger on the player rater. Like, that shows you how much a difference, like, average doesn't really like move the needle as much as you might think. Like, it's good, but you need runs, you need RBIs, you need homers, you need steals, you need other things other than average. So, and Jorge Mateo is like a top 60-ish bat on the year. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I mean, any in speed will make up for a
Yeah.
lot of things real quick, in the way that we're playing the game right now. So yeah, you've got to have speed, and it could be a cheap source. Like I said, he's been hitting over 280 for the second half, so I don't think he's a plus 280 hitter. But even if he just becomes a 260 hitter, there's definitely value there, and a guy I think kind of going under the radar as well.
Yeah, and also if you look at like I mean Byron Buxton's out now with an injury, so he's gonna be falling in the player rater because he's gonna be missing time. But Jorge Mateo was nearly as good as Buxton on the year as of like today, Monday, and he will pass him, assuming he doesn't get injured as well. So Mateo is going to be above Buxton. There's no one's drafting Mateo above Buxton next year.
Yeah. So just a name to kind of jot down and keep in the back of your mind for next year. I do think there's a reasonable chance, and like the similarities are there. Kind of an older guy that's made an adjustment in Dallas Garcia. I don't think he's going to put up a 21-21 season necessarily like we're getting from Adalis, but he could steal more bases. I mean, he's already stolen 28, so he could definitely steal more bases. I just don't think he necessarily has the pop that Adalis does, as we kind of move forward to next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
All right, Gray, we're starting to run a little bit long, but let's talk through some bullpen guys as people are chasing saves here at the end.
Yeah. So Nick Martinez, Josh. By the way, Josh Hader looks really good in San Diego, huh?
What a great trade!
Really interesting, really good pickup. I would say probably the best trade, but unfortunately, it's by the Brewers, not the Padres. Well, unless you're a Brewers fan, then good for the Brewers to get rid of Hader. God, he's awful. I feel like I was thinking of putting Hader in the outline. Maybe next week, if Hader's still doing bad, we could talk about him for next year. Anyway, Nick Martinez has gotten the last two saves as of today. Luis Garcia could get the next save. I don't necessarily think it's like Martinez's job to lose. I don't know if it's Garcia's job. I think if anything, it's committee. Aroldis, he went on the IL because he got a tattoo. He got a "I love you, mommy" tattoo. No, I don't know what tattoo it is. Probably a tattoo that says "I hate." I hate being good. I don't know. Aroldis' tattoo has got infected though, and he's on the IL. But I honestly, before even Aroldis got injured or whatever, I don't even know if you can call that an injury. Before he got IL'd, I don't think the Yankees wanted him to close anyway. Like, they weren't using him. They were going everywhere but him. They were like, Wandy Peralta's our closer. Like, what? What? It's so weird that, like, I mean, actually, it might not be weird. Aroldis, they just didn't trust Aroldis. And I guess for good reason, because he wasn't great, even back in April. So, April, May. And Holmes has been really good outside of a stretch before the IL where he lost command a little bit. So hopefully Holmes comes back. I think the Yankees want Clay Holmes to be their closer. I don't think Wandy Peralta or Lasagna, Johnny Lasagna. I don't think the Yankees want those guys. So I think they do want Clay Holmes. And then in Anaheim, Jimmy Hargay, I don't even know. Jose Quijada. I had Ryan Tapora, who is a nice compliment to my meal at Benihana. I had Ryan Tapora for a little while, but then he wasn't vaxxed, so he didn't go to Toronto. And I don't know, honestly, I don't know who's the closer for the Angels. It might be Tapora again. It might be Quijada. It might be someone else whose name I can't pronounce. I don't know. I have no idea. And then in Oakland, Danny Jimenez got injured. I think it's shoulder injury. He's out for the year. I think it's probably AJ Puck or Zach Jackson are probably will share the closer role. And they also might go to someone who we don't know because the A's don't want to pay anyone in arbitration. So they might just go to some random guys to get saves too.
Yeah. Who knows what the A's, that one's just a chasing every save down that you can situation if you're going after the A's. It's been that way all season pretty much. How about some waiver guys and then we'll get out of here, Gray?
I think someone who we mentioned briefly, Josh Jung. Well, I don't know if he gets called up. He might actually be called up by the time people listen to this. He should be. I don't know if he does. So I guess check out, if he gets called up, he's definitely someone who I would grab. I mean, he's got good power. He should hit for a decent average. He's got no speed. So, long term, he's not as good. As I mentioned earlier, he's not as good as Corbin Carroll, but he is good. Josh Jung is someone I'm interested in. And plus, I don't honestly know what the Rangers are doing. Like, people seem to think Chris Young has a grasp on things, but I don't know, man. His head is in the clouds. Ha! Because he's tall. Okay, anyway, Gunnar Henderson maybe gets called up. I don't think he does, but maybe if you're taking a flyer on a guy, again, by the time you listen to this, he might have been called up. He's definitely someone I would grab in every league just in case he is called up. And if he's called up by the time you're listening to this, then he should be rostered. Let's see. TJ Friedel has been solid on the Reds. He's been hot. He's more of a hot potato, though. I don't know. Anyone else? What pitchers you got beat on?
So I guess Glenn Otto, Jordan Lyles, Drew Smiley's actually been good. Jake Odorizzi, as you mentioned before, he's just perfectly fine as a streamer at this point. Jose Suarez has been good. I think I mentioned him a couple of weeks ago, and he's just continued to perform. Domingo Germán has a spot right now, so he's another guy that I'm looking at. And on Just Jung and Gunnar Henderson, if you need a little bit more information on them, we did talk about them at a little bit more length last week in the podcast, so you can always tune back in and listen to some of our September call-up potential talk that we had last week.
Oh, yeah. Also, Dean Kramer, the Baltimore Orioles pitcher, who's also a Jew. I was dancing the horror. What's the problem? Honestly,
all right.
What's wrong with you?
We've just gone off the rails. I'm just going to call it here. As always, specific questions as we get down to September, your last runs or your playoff lineups. Hit us with specific questions in the comments, whether that's on Razzball or YouTube. or you can come find us on Twitter. I am, of course, at RazBeaton, and Gray is the at Razball account owner. YouTube.com/RazballFantasy. You can subscribe to the podcast and watch us there if you'd rather watch than just and listen to us at the same time, or just mute us and watch us do random stuff. That's probably
Oh
pretty
my God, I
entertaining
got
as
an
well.
idea. What if you watch and then you listen to us on like a 15-second delay? So you're watching it, but then the lips are moving and the sound's off, and it freaks you out. Watch it like that.
Like watching a K-drama. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
watching exactly like an interview with a K-pop star. Like, yeah, you're like, whoa, what's going on? Their lips are moving, but the voice is later.
They'll love that in Korea, where we're the #1 fantasy baseball podcast.
We are #1 in South Korea. We're only #3 in North Korea. What can you do?
Hey, South Koreans, leading the podcast. It would only be appropriate for us not to be #1 in North Korea. But yes, there we go, Gray. Until next time, good luck in your matchups. Good luck as we come down to the end of it, as you chase down those final categories and points.
Late.